Dear audience, hello and welcome to our final webinar, Renewables in Action, Paving the Way for Sustainable Urban District Heating and Cooling Systems. This is our final webinar from our EU-funded Horizon 2020 project RES-DHC. I will shortly give you an overview what we are going to talk about in the next 1.5 hours. First, some administrative stuff. Please keep yourself muted during the webinar. The webinar has also been started to be recorded. It will be recorded and later on published on the internet. Participants will receive the slides of all the presentations on next Monday. I will then give you a short introduction about the project RES-DHC itself. Then I will introduce the speakers before every presentation of the regions. We are going to later on talk about or hear about the policy recommendations carried out, and last but not least, we will start a panel discussion. You can please use the chat function only to write down your questions. I will then give the questions to the speakers by first come, first serve. Okay, what is RES-DHC all about? RES-DHC stands for Renewable Energy Sources in the District Heating and Cooling Sector. Here are just some numbers about the project. 15 partners were involved, including research institutes, cities, and national and EU associations, as well as companies. 8 countries were involved, and we had 6 model regions across Europe, where the project is gathering experience and building capacities through 3 years of duration, starting on the 1st of September 2020, to achieve the goal of an increase of the share of renewable energy sources in existing district heating system by at least 1% annually. So here's an overview of the speakers. On the top left, my name is Michael Salzman. I am a scientific researcher at AEE InTech, and I've been the work package leader for the implemented measures in the regions. And I would like to hand over to my colleague Karina Seidnitzer-Gallien, also from AEE InTech. She will tell you about the region of Styria, especially Graz in Austria.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction and also a warm welcome from my side. I have now the possibility to give a brief insight in the different activities in the region of Graz. But first of all, where it's located. So this red marker roughly outlines the location during Europe, and on the right side you can find a map of the city of Graz, including also the district heating grid. All in all, the city of Graz has more than 300,000 inhabitants and an area of around 127 square kilometers. And it's located in the southeast of Austria in the federal state of Styria. So, but then, for example, also some key indicators, furthermore, of the district heating grid. The district heating grid is about 450 kilometers, and we have more than 885,000 heat clients, and the heat demand is of around 1,200 gigawatt hours per year. But there are also some challenges if you want to get the future district heating grid with a lot of renewables, one challenge is, for example, it's the location of the district heating and also the location of Graz and the different climate conditions there. Also, we are in an urban area and it's not so easy to integrate the different decentralized renewables. Another point, it's the retrofitting of grids and by lowering all the different supply temperatures. And on the other hand, there are some non-technical challenges. For example, in the new renewables part, we have high capex or long payback periods. And another point on the social aspect also to increase the awareness in the different stakeholder groups there. But nevertheless, the region of Graz itself, the goal to get achieve 50% the share of renewables in the district heating grid, and in the next 10 years, that started in the year 2018, and also to be fully decarbonized at least in 2050. And there are three key elements to achieve this. On the one hand, that's the highest, to get the highest share of renewables in the district heating grid. On the other hand, also to guarantee the security of supply and to increase the energy efficiency on the building side, in the grids, and as well as on the customer side. And this transformation requires also significant efforts and very well high investments, but it allows to increase the local added value in the region. Then, and with this, in this transformation, in cooperation with the RES-DHC project, we elaborated 5 concrete measures, and I will show some in them of detail. First, we were working on technical measures. For example, it was about investigations in underground thermal energy storages, or the evaluation of district heating areas for return supply. Then we carried out a decarbonization roadmap. And on the economic side, we worked on solutions for district heating and cooling, and on the organizational side to look at different possibilities for user integration and future business models. So I show the first example, and it addresses more the need for large-scale heat storages. And based on the different calculations from all the decarbonization scenarios, we know further that it's necessary to have a large storage volume in this area, and that could be around 1.5 million cubic meters up to 6 million cubic meters. And one concrete study in this part was the investigations of cavern technologies in the area. And the first part is it's very necessary to look at the different hydraulic engineering and rock mechanics criteria in the area. The next step is to compare this with the geological urban area in Graz, and then to find best possible way in some areas where it's possible to use cavern or to build cavern technologies. And there were 2 possible areas identified that were in the west and the northwest of Graz. And furthermore, in the study, there were different concepts evaluated with different storage volumes, and the picture on the right side shows one example. But there are also some next steps to do. On the one hand side, you have to do detailed assessments on the geological and the rock mechanical sites, also to look on the different legal aspects or economic efficiency of cavern technology storages, and to work on detailed design concepts and implementation scenarios. And the second example I will show, it's about the non-technical measures, and it's concerning the stakeholder integration aspect as well as the future business models. And therefore we evaluated and analyzed in a survey about different essential elements in the future business model for the district heating networks. And this is summarized in the business model in Canvas. But overall, I will only show some key elements. And therefore, it's very necessary if you want to elaborate business models to integrate all the different regional actors and also to create new cooperations in order to increase regional added value. Another point, it's important to combine all the different technologies and to generate individual solutions based on the different boundary conditions in the regions. Another point is it's very necessary to have a high degree on digitalization and transparency because to get an essential or an economic future business model in this area. And then last point, it's also important to offer efficient, effective, also integrated and flexible services. Maybe it could be on an approach, on a one-stop approach, if you combine heat, power, mobility, and so on. And also to look at the degree of the user integration. For example, it's in prosumer or in consumer. So finally, these different measures raise also the exchange and the mobilization in the region and in the whole work of the different regional stakeholder advisory groups. Some key elements were the different key visibility studies or to work on different case studies and demonstration plans, and also the international exchange with the experts. And the final takeaway message from my side, maybe it's necessary to consider all these regional boundary conditions and the main stakeholders, and that's a key performance element if you want to develop future renewable district heating grids. So that's all from my side. I will also give a big thank to our cooperations partner, that's Energie Graz and the City of Graz. Yeah, so, and I hope, and I'm happy to the discussion afterwards.
Thanks a lot, Karina. I would like to hand over now to Paula Möhring from Hamburg Institute. Paula is a consultant and engineer for renewable energies at Hamburg Institute for Research. Paula, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, I'm very excited to be able to present today the outcomes of our 3-year project, European research project. I would like to introduce the model region in Germany that we focused on, and also explain what measures did we implement, and then explain a little bit more in detail what are the outcomes of these measures. So we just heard from Karina that the Graz region was in Austria, the model region. In Germany, we have Baden-Württemberg as a federal state of Baden-Württemberg as the model region. So we have a very huge area, so to say. It's the 3rd biggest federal state of Germany. And we have Germany as a country where district heating in a European context is not as developed, so to say, as the European, as the neighbor states. And we see here, just as a comparison, the shades of the colors are more important than the numbers, because by now it's a little bit higher. But we see that Germany is more in the lower or in the middle field of the share of district heating in final energy consumption, and for the share of renewable energy in district heating, it is still a huge step to take. Baden-Württemberg, as I mentioned, is the model region that we focused on, and is very diverse. So we have very large district heating networks in Heidelberg, Karlsruhe, and Mannheim. And we have a very huge number of smaller and middle-sized district heating grids in the villages and small cities. It is also a state that, even within Germany, is one of the first movers, so to say, because the communal heat planning is already obligatory per law since 2020. But still, we see that there is a huge fraction of fossil energy. Here is just one example for the fuels in combined heat and power plants in Baden-Württemberg as of 21. So we see coal is still a huge part of the district heating, and the transformation as it is happening now and will happen in the coming years is a huge one. The measures that we were able to develop and implement in our project we had 8 measures, and there were very different approaches, because we have some that the first measures, they focus more on the really consulting utilities and consulting the cities on how to transform their district heating systems. So it is more of a direct person-to-person consultancy that we were able to implement. And on the other hand, we also have some information and knowledge sharing that we were able to implement within different webinars. That these are, for example, measures 6, 7, and 8, where we're able to target a higher group of persons. So I will just present some of the measures to have an overview. The methodical approach of transformation plans was done by AGFW with the support of Solites and Hamburg Institute, and we developed the methodological approach for the process of transforming the district heating grids. And we were also able to actually consult some municipalities and really apply this approach in a direct interaction. So we had different workshops, and in a moment I will also show the outcomes of one of these workshops. The second measure was the help desk. So the idea was really to have a platform where the energy utilities, the cities, but also other stakeholders can address their questions. And we set up the internet, the website, and waited for requests of our knowledge or for our support. And we had to say that this the help desk platform was not used so much. We just had some little amount of questions that were coming in. So yeah, this was also a measure, but it was not as large as we hoped it would be. Then we had the webinar series. So we had 3 webinars with very different topics, from regulatory topics and also for the placements for plants that can generate renewable heat, for example, solar thermal plants and other renewable plants for district heating. We also had the topics of the surface water heat pumps with technical and regulatory aspects, and also a webinar for market and regulatory aspects with the topic of certificates of origin for RES-DHC. And we had very successful webinars with a high number of participants and many discussions. And all the materials are published. So all the presentations that were held during these 3 webinars can be accessed via the platform of Erneuerbare Baden-Württemberg. Then just to summarize the impact and the outlook, we have addressed a high number of citizens and of stakeholders, especially in the webinar series. So we had 180 participants, and we were also able to share the presentations now that will be still on the website to download. And of course, there's always the possibility to contact us and ask questions and engage into further discussions. And another impact was also that I would just have, with one example of one coaching workshop that we had with the energy utility of Bad Säckingen, where we had this one measure of the transformation plans and consulting how to transform the existing district heating systems, but also building new district heating systems. And I just talked to them, and they said that now they were able to apply for the funding of a new feasibility study with Bundesförderung effizienter Wärmenetze, and they also set new targets of 100% renewables in district heating in the year of 2040. And they are also doing further technical feasibility studies on using waste heat of generators of 2 local hydropower plants with heat pumps, and also for photovoltaic plant. So some of the topics that we talked about and consulted them, they are being further developed. So yeah, as a summary, we can say that Baden-Württemberg is a very large region. We were able to address different stakeholders in Baden-Württemberg and even in other areas in Germany. And we see that especially the webinars and the person-to-person consulting was really successful. Thank you very much, and I will be glad to answer some questions afterwards.
Thank you very much, Paula. I would like to hand over now to the next region. It's West Pomerania, Poland, and we're gonna hear from Lily Wolny. She's a project manager at SETCH.
Yes, thank you. I'm project manager in New Technologies Department in SETCH, which is the district heating company of Szczecin. Szczecin is located in northwestern Poland. It's the largest city in this particular area. Our main system is located in Szczecin, but we are present in 11 cities altogether with 15 energy plants. So as you can see, our starting point in 2020, the energy production in our business was mostly from fossil fuels. So that's an opportunity for us to search for ways to decarbonize and to minimize the amount of fossil fuels in our energy production. The RES-DHC project was a great opportunity for us to do this. So the first step is to identify the problem. So what's the challenge? Why there isn't more of renewables in our systems? So our district heating systems are mostly inefficient. There is a high share of fossil fuels in district heating. One of the biggest challenge was the high capex, so the investment costs for new technologies. And in case of larger systems, it would be easier to face, but in case of smaller systems, that's the biggest challenge, because if we build something that is expensive, then we will have to increase the heat prices for our customers, and that might be not very welcome by them, and it may lead to possible disconnections of the customers. Also, as you could see in previous slides, only 24% of district heating is produced in district heating grids. It's always easier for a larger company to decarbonize than for an individual customer. They will always choose the cheapest and easiest solution. So basically fossil fuels, either gas or coal. And also that's the challenge for system in Szczecin. It's very difficult to find green solutions for larger systems. Knowing all of that, we have gathered experts from district heating companies in Poland, and we had a series of discussions during which we tried to find the solutions to those barriers, the measures to overcome them. Okay, so the first most obvious one was to increase the RES and CHP share in district heating systems to make them more efficient. Also, one of the barriers we identified was the were the zoning plans, because in our case, if the zoning plan says we are not allowed to build particular technology, let's say a heat pump or a solar field, then it means we'll have to apply to the municipality to change the zoning plan, and that process can take up to 2 years, and it's also quite expensive and complicated and difficult. So we try to engage the municipalities into the discussion so they are aware of our investment plans and what we would like to implement in the areas where we are located. Also, to decrease the costs of implementing renewables into our systems, we thought about the scale effect. So the more installations will be constructed, the better knowledge our engineers will have about the implementation and planning and designing and construction of those technologies, the cheaper and easier it would be for us to implement them. Also, marketing and PR are also very, very important, because people still don't trust the green solutions. So we had to find the way to make them more aware of that. And last but not least, we use the network created within the RES-DHC project to search the best practice examples from other countries. Those are the measures, and that's how we decided to put them together. So first of all, the mass use of RES. We used this one as an opportunity to create the decarbonization scenarios for our district heating systems. As I have mentioned, there are 11 cities where we are present, so we had to see what's already there and what can we do in these areas. Then we created the actual scenarios. So a group of engineers and economic experts and other experts came together and tried to find the best scenarios to decarbonize the systems. And at the same time, we started the monitoring of the zoning plans and the municipalities' investment plans to see what we can or can't do in the particular areas. Then, thanks to the network we created in the RES-DHC project, we were able to participate in study tours. We had some discussions and workshops with experts presented in the project. So thanks to that, and thanks to training and coaching, my colleagues from the engineering departments could see what could be done and how. And all of that was obviously promoted in social media, so our clients were aware of our actions, of our activities, and why we are doing what we are doing, because the research shows that people would like to pay a little bit more if it would mean that, for example, the air in their city would be better. We are still trying to find the limit of how much more, but if they are aware of something, then it's easier for them to accept that. So up until now, we have created the decarbonization scenarios. We have then an overview of what we have at our disposal. We have chosen the few best scenarios for each location. And now in October, we will be starting phase 2 of our decarbonization project. And we'll try to see which scenarios are the best. And the next steps would be, of course, trying to find financing for them, because investment costs are still a challenge. And last but not least, we will implement them. So we hope that thanks to all of that, by year 2030, we would be able to tell that most of our systems are green. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insight and report, Lily. I'd like to hand over to our next presenter, To Italy, it's Giulia Crespi from Gruppo IREN, and she's an innovation specialist. Julia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael. I will ask you support for the slides.
Yeah.
And good morning to everybody. Yes, my name is Giulia Crespi, and I work in the innovation department of IREN. And together with Ambiente Italia, we were the Italian partners of the project RES-DHC. So today I'm going to share some insights and the main results achieved thanks to the work developed for our region in Italy. Starting from an important consideration that Italian district heating sector is still heavily dependent on fossil fuels, meaning that the project efforts and the results achieved could represent a precious support tool for facilitating and driving the decarbonization process. Next slide, please. Thank you. To enable the development of district heating from renewables in Italy, both Italian partners have developed a list of possible measures of different nature. And thanks to the cooperation of the Italian Regional Stakeholder Advisory Group, it was possible to assign to these measures different priorities, considering and using a ranking methodology based on different evaluation criteria. Next, please. Thanks to this effort and this cooperation, it was possible to narrow the list of measures, considering and obtaining 5 different priority measures, which are the ones shown in this slide. Each measure actually aimed to face a specific barrier still present in Italy and in Italian panorama for district heating. So from a legal political barrier to economical barrier, lack of knowledge, technical and organizational barriers. In the following slides, I will provide some brief details about the measures and the main results achieved. And it is important to specify that most of the actions were discussed and revised thanks to the collaboration and cooperation of the Regional Stakeholder Advisory Group, and were also disseminated through dedicated papers. With the sole exception of the measure 4, which is actually very specific on the context of IREN, which is a multi-utility active in some parts of Italy. All other measures from 1 to 3 and the 5th measure actually have a more national horizon, meaning that these results and these measures actually can be very beneficial for the whole district heating sector. Next, please. The first measure is the simplification of permitting process, and it allowed to explore how the simplification and standardization of the procedures for project development can reduce time and costs and can increase also the probability of project success and the local acceptability. For this measure, 4 fact sheets were prepared with the proposals for administrative simplifications related to 4 different renewable sources that could be integrated to district heating network, such as solar thermal, biomass, geothermal, and heat recovery. Next. The second measure instead aims to improve the incentive framework, which in Italy is not properly representing district heating yet. And therefore, this action aimed to bridge the gap and to reduce the imbalance between district heating with other energy supply options. And for this measure, a fact sheet was prepared with the concrete proposals to improve the national support schemes for district heating. Next. For the third measure, a massive information campaign was developed on the topic of thermal energy communities, also in cooperation with another project, which is the Life Connected project, since Ambiente Italia is partner of this project too. and specifically the objective was to inform public citizens and consumers about the real potentials, costs and benefits of thermal energy communities, aiming to increase their awareness, their acceptance, and to increase concrete participations in such communities. Next. The fourth action is more technical based, and specifically it focused on the study of possible application of thermal storages solutions, both traditional and innovative like seasonal storages in one of IREN's network. And this feasibility study was developed thanks to the support of the Danish partner Plan Energy, and it allowed to develop a possible strategy for transforming an existing district heating system into a more renewable one, thus trying to reduce the gas consumption and to increase the proportion of renewable energies in the production mix. Next. Finally, the fifth action is the bankability of project, and this action aimed to analyze the key influencing factors and barriers and problems related to the bankability of projects of district heating run on renewables, aiming to prepare and refer to real cases and studies all over Europe in order to try to overcome these problems and to reduce the still high knowledge gap also between banks and financial institutions. Next. To conclude and to look at the future, all these actions are complete, but I think that these actions will have an impact and will be further exploited also after the end of the project. And for example, the action 3 will be further developed by Ambiente Italia within the other project, focused again on thermal energy communities and the role of district heating in these solutions. The results of action 4 will be very useful in order to carry out some further investigations and assessment in order to drive the decarbonization of our assets and their improvement. And finally, important aspect is that AIRU, which is the National Association for District Heating in Italy, which was a member of the regional stakeholder advisory group in Italy, is actually using the fact sheets that were prepared for Action 1 and Action 2, so related to simplification of procedures and incentive framework for its lobbying work, especially towards the representatives of the current government. That's all from my side, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia, for your insight. I'd like to hand over now to our next speaker. It's going to be Nicolas Picou. He's project manager for renewable energy sources in district heating in the region of Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes in France.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So yes, hello everyone. I'm Nicolas Picou, in charge of renewable heat at the Regional Energy Agency of Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region. I'm pleased to present you the RES-DHC project review for France part. We were two partners from our region involved in the project, our agency, and the CEA. This is the National Energy Usage Laboratory based in Chambéry. And I will start by presenting the context of our Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes model region in terms of district heating and cooling, and then our action plan and the result obtained and lesson learned. So the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region is the second largest in France in terms of population with 8 million inhabitants, and the fourth largest in terms of surface area with 70,000 kilometers square, and this is more or less the size of Austria. Our region has 232 district heating and cooling, and cooling grids are in the biggest cities, Lyon, Grenoble, and Saint-Étienne. At the start of the project, the district heating represented 932 kilometers of pipes, 3,900 gigawatt-hour produced, and 68% of renewable heat in the energy mix, which is higher than the other region in France. And this is due to particular production of heat from biomass with the Alpine region, as the Alpine region is heavily forested. Data for 2021 tells us that in 3 years, the production of renewable has increased by 5 points for an additional production of almost 700 gigawatt-hour per year. And in the same period, CO2 emissions avoided have increased by 10%. The regional action plan, which has been the subject of a consultation with all stakeholders involved in district heating in our region, addresses measures in 4 different directions: planning issues, financial aspects, technical aspects, and coaching for specific stakeholders and sectors. In terms of planning, we have developed digital tools to make it easier to draw up master plans for heating and cooling grids. In terms of finance, we have developed tools for thermal storage and solar energy, intelligent management of heating districts, and engineering resources for local authorities. On the technical issues, we have focused on finding appropriate solutions for reducing the grid temperature and identify the best practices in this area. Finally, we are promoting the solar and geothermal sectors to help them to penetrate the district heating and cooling market. I'm going to tell you about 3 of the 10 actions of our action plan. And the first is the development of tertiary tool. It's a free web-based tool that enables local authorities to visualize energy data for their areas and build energy transition strategies. The tool, which has been under development for 5 years, can be used to monitor energy consumption and production indicators, simulate the impact of the strategies, and identify various renewable energy production facilities such as geothermal, as you can see on the slide. And it can be used to monitor energy flows in a given area with using Sankey diagrams. As a part of the RES-DHC project, we developed the tertiary tool for heating plans functions. Firstly, we have developed an interface who can represent the heat demand for the residential, tertiary, or industrial sectors. With this existing district heating, you can see in blue, makes it possible to analyze the area where district heating could be developed and can also provide a linear heat demand to calculate the economic balance of this project. We also have developed an interface to visualize renewable energy sources for district heating, such as geothermal potential or solar energy, as you can see. The second action I will present you is to produce a guide for district heating temperature lowering. We know that the higher temperature of the grids are an obstacle to the use of renewable energy sources. But the stakeholders involved are not so aware to the need to reduce temperature in their district heating. The guide is therefore logically aimed on local authorities and district heating operators. We then had to find the best way to explain the issues involved in lowering temperature and promoting existing good practices. The guide was based on the feedback from experiences and involved in large number of contributors at the national level too. Here you can see the various pages that make up this guide, which draws on the both work of the IEA, International Energy Agency, and practical experience from the national level. It also promotes the district lab tool, which is developed by the CEA, and it can be used to simulate the response of district heating regarding temperature, renewable energy production on storage parameters. Thirdly, finally, to raise awareness among regional stakeholders of the issue of solar thermal production in district heating, in cooperation with the INES, National Institution for Solar Thermal, for solar in general, we developed a series of webinars on solar thermal energy, covering everything from the preconceived ideas to the most innovative developments into district heating. These webinars have been very well attended, and there is more than 10,000 viewers on YouTube of this content. As a result, as we see the mix of renewable energy sources in district heating in our region reach 70%. It's more than 2.5% of growth a year. We made a lot of webinars with a lot of viewers, more than 10 workshops on different topics of district heating decarbonization, and 6 stakeholder advisory group meetings, and 2 main events in 2001 and 2022. Sorry. As lesson learned, the district heating decarbonization is moving really fast with the international context, and stakeholders are more and more active on this topic, and district heating operators are now more and more open to temperature lowering, storage, renewable energy sources topics, and even to power to heat. That is new for us, and there is also new financial stakeholders which are coming to this market. And the regional stakeholder group meetings are really crucial for information and empowerment, and will surely survive to the end of RES-DHC project. We are now in 4 new applications for European projects about district heating and thermal energy sources in our region. In the next months, we'll see what is going up. There's also, I have to note the introduction of a support system for solar thermal energy and thermal storage in district heating in our region with the regional council, and introduction of a new support system for waste heat energy, and introduction of a new energy certificate support system for smart operation of district heating. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks for your presentation, Nicolas. So next is next presentators would be Laure de Chentre from Planer in Switzerland and Stefan Thalmann from Verenum in Switzerland, representing the Swiss cantons. Unfortunately, both are not available, but they managed to record their part, and I'd like to play that video now.
Okay. Good. So welcome everybody to the final webinar of the RES-DHC project. Laura and we will present the main results in Switzerland. And I start with the base survey. In Switzerland, we already have more than 1,000 thermal networks in operation, and they are growing. And based on 2019, it's about 11 terawatt hours per year over these thermal networks. And this is about 11% of the heat demand in all the buildings. Currently, we have still 20 to 25% fossil fuels or fossil energies, especially for peak load hours or for redundancy. In Switzerland, there is also a very ambitious goal, like in all the European countries, to have net zero emissions until 2050. There are some other cities that have even more ambitious goals. To reach these goals, there is like a twofold challenge. There is, on the one hand, an accelerated expansion of the thermal networks and new networks, and on the other hand, the challenge to decarbonize the heat production process. So, and to support all the stakeholders along these project phases or the challenges ahead, we developed a guideline on temporary solutions for the expansion of thermal networks. Because there is one big challenge is time. You can imagine it takes a long time until the development of a thermal network, especially in bigger cities, until customers can be connected to the networks. So in order to not lose any customers to individual solutions, the utilities need to have like temporary solutions to manage the long time economic feasibility studies or the feasibility. So that's why we developed this guideline. Especially from the perspective of technical, economical, operational, and legal aspects is covered in this guideline. We also have current solutions from 6 different cities in Switzerland, and it is also included some various practical examples. For example, like local heating networks, fast development of small clusters in the region to cover small buildings or areas until the bigger network is in the area and they can connect to these clusters. Or for example, to have like second-hand market for heating systems like wood boilers or gas and oil boilers as a temporary solutions. So feel free, you see the download guideline. And now I will give over to Laura for the next slides.
Thank you. We also realized 2 practical feasibility studies to show, to compare classic scenarios with a bit of fossil fuel for the peaks against 100% renewable local energy solutions, and we could show that it is on the long term with the global costs not more expensive, and that it brings a lot of other advantages with itself. So independence, of course, flexibility, because there are several sources of energy, security of supply are amongst the advantages of these 100% renewable solutions. It's always worth to check these 100% renewable scenarios in the feasibility studies should ask for it. And the comparison basis is also changing fast. We used to compare against individual fossil solutions, but the legal framework is changing fast in several cantons in Switzerland, and it's already now clear that this is not a solution anymore for the future. And so the comparison basis is not anymore fossil solution for customers, but individual renewable solutions. You can need to change the guideline. We also produced a guideline on the decarbonization of thermal networks, which gathers all the examples that we discussed within the project in our workshops, or in our feasibility studies, or in the other fact sheets that we created. It's organized as a catalog with 3 pillars, so planification, optimization, and integration of waste and renewable heat, with practical examples and also links where you can find more information on the subject. And it is available as a report or as presentation that you are free to use and complete as best suits you. So to conclude, in Switzerland, we have adopted this climate protection law. We have this net zero goal, which is very clear. It's also very clear that thermal grids will play a key role in this in achieving these goals. And yeah, we are sure that the results of the project that are available on the website and are still listed here will support the key stakeholders of the district heating sector in implementing these objectives and reaching these goals. We also have a short remark, the YouTube channel with all the webinar and workshop presentations from different stakeholders that you can look at in video. So thank you very much for your attention. We could not be with you today and we regret it, but if you have any questions, what we did in Switzerland, then you can just contact us with our contact details here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much and have a good webinar. Bye. Okay, I think this was not bad.
Indeed, it was not bad. Thanks to Switzerland for the contribution. And now I'd like to hand over to Euroheat and Power, to our colleague Andras Takac, who is a policy advisor at Euroheat and Power, and he's going to tell us something about the policy recommendations carried out in our project.
Yes, hello everyone. We received all of these policy measures from all of these 8 countries. It's very comprehensive, and as a policy person, for me to see all of these different projects, it's very interesting. So as it was described by you previously, there were many different measures adapted which focused on many different topics, targeted many different groups, for example, operators of district heating networks or public authorities. And then we also received information on the barriers, on the scale of the measures, and how the measure was, what was the result of the measure. So we received this big bunch of information and we had to analyze it. We came up with 8 different groups, categories, where we categorized all of these measures, and I will go through these very soon. We also described in the paper who we are targeting with these measures. So we identified public authorities, which includes EU, national, regional, and municipal, but also policymakers, investors, and consumers. then I will start with the first category, which was the transformation plans. I see that we are running late, so I will focus only on each category's first measure to highlight one of each categories. So we know that in the current, the just adopted energy efficiency directive on EU level, there is a measure which says that municipalities will have to plan local heating and cooling plans above 45,000 citizens, but we consider that threshold very high, and following the German example, we are suggesting a lower threshold. And if more cities are creating these local heating and cooling plans, then, for example, the Poland's what Lily mentioned, must use for scale effects would step in, and we would see that more cities are implementing renewable and waste heat sources, so that would increase or decrease the price and increase the renewable share. And in these plans, also the social responsible planning could be included. Then in the low temperature district heating networks, so low temperature heating and district heating can be connected to buildings which are low energy with low energy needs, so high efficiency, but also buildings which were deep renovated. And for this building, it's of course economically more feasible for them to connect to district heating network than to invest into an individual heating solution. So to ensure that the district heating and cooling network to be present and be able to connect to this efficient building, the capex of building this waste heat or renewable district heating network should be subsidized, and there should be economical incentives for renewable and waste heat development. Then moving towards the thermal energy storage category, we identified many measures here as well, but in our opinion, the first priority would be to set short-term price signals to ensure the market uptake. So that means that thermal energy storage is when there is a lot of renewable electricity in the grid, the electricity price is low, they could use the electricity to store and produce heat and store this heat in thermal energy storages and sell that heat back to the district heating and cooling network when the electricity prices are high. So for these short-term price signals are necessary. Then the solar district heating networks here, the first measure also is applicable for geothermal. So these incentives can help to offset high upfront capital costs, as we are suggesting financial incentives, and to develop these solar district heating and cooling networks, also geothermal networks. The capital costs associated with these building these large scale are very high, and by encouraging private investment, not only public investment, we would decrease the burden on public funds. So that was one of the measures. On the permitting processes, we created dedicated go-to areas. So that's a policy recommendation, but this is also included now in the Renewable Energy Directive. But it would be important also to simplify permitting processes for district heating pipeline installations and building district heating and cooling networks. So that is a completely new policy recommendation, and it would be very beneficial. On sector integration, we see that communication is key. We know that many waste heat owners, waste heat producers are not aware of their opportunities that they could give away this waste heat for district heating networks and receive money for it. So it would have alternatively provide alternative resources for them as well, while the district heating network could decarbonize their networks. So we see that communication is key. District heating operators need to communicate more with these heat providers. On thermal energy storage, we also see that communication is one of the key issues, as consumers doesn't know of the benefits of these thermal energy communities. We recommend public administrators and local governments to implement communication and awareness raising activities. And finally, the financial parts, financing and investments. We see that all EU funds are split up in different EU legislation. There is the state aid, there is the modernization fund, the cohesion fund, so many different funds which could be used for district heating and cooling network. So just to merge this together and make it more transparent and accessible for operators would be beneficial. So to create a heat fund, a dedicated heat fund. And thank you for the attention. Looking forward for the question.
Okay, thank you very much, Andras. So now I would like to start the panel discussion. Therefore, we first told you, dear audience, to write some questions into the chat. There we have one question. The question is, how many decarbonization strategies using solar thermal heat as well as low-X networks were developed in the frame of the project? So
I say for our part in France, we have 2 district heating concerned by solar thermal production in the framework of the project.
So for Austria, I can say solar thermal is especially for the master plan for decarbonizing the district heating in Graz already included, since there is already a solar thermal plant implemented, and it's, as far as I'm informed, it's going to be extended with several thousand square meters in the next couple of months. Any other comment from the presenters? Paula,
one comment, perhaps.
Sorry.
It is that our specific subsidy system is not yet really focused on solar thermal, but it's going to be in the next months. So we'll see projects with solar thermal grow up significantly in our region. But at this moment, regional council didn't act the specific model for solar thermal and storage, but it is in the next months.
And I assume, Paula, your work on solar thermal has been an input for a decarbonization plan in some fields or areas in Baden-Württemberg?
Yeah, so regarding solar thermal, we had some suggestions and also talked about it with the utilities. We can see now that the aim is more to use the areas that we found in our analysis for solar thermal, to use them now for photovoltaic and to have a direct connection to a heat pump. So we see that the areas are scarce. There is not just unlimited areas available. So if we identify a suitable area, then we see that it is now, in one case at least, used for photovoltaics with heat pumps.
Okay, thanks, Paula.
And Michael, it's Julia from Iran.
Yeah.
And I have to say that in 2022, so more or less in March last year, it was inaugurated a plant in Torino, so connected to the district heating network of Torino, installing a solar thermal system with a nominal power of more or less 400 kilowatt. Coupled with thermal storages. So this is one example of solar thermal installation in one of our assets.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Then we have a next question. Did you have any particular technical difficulties implementing seasonal thermal storages with solar? Losses, installations, etc. in brackets. Where could be those found, and in particular with water, pit or boreholes? I would like to answer that. For technical details, especially for the implementation of seasonal thermal storages, I would recommend to contact colleagues from AE Intec, so my colleagues, or colleagues from Solites in Germany, since they are all pretty experienced in that questions. And I'm afraid, in particular, this question can't be answered in the frame of our project.
Maybe I can add there is a huge borehole storage in France being constructed near Geneva in Ferney-Voltaire city. If you want to have more information, you can contact me. It is about 170 borehole. It's made to, not for solar thermal, but for waste energy from the CERN. It's an industrial activity.
Thank you, Nicola.
Yeah, so maybe I can also add from our side, because we have also Solites in our project team for Germany, and one measure was to develop the practical technical issues for the integration of solar thermal systems into district heating. And there are publications, an article, and some materials to download. I will be posting the possibilities in the chat, or you can also contact me via email and I will send them to you.
Maybe I can add one comment to this, because if you look on your pit storage, so there are good examples in Denmark, and we also had a Danish project partner in our round. And if you're looking in the Austrian boundary conditions or boundary conditions in Middle Europe, there are further investigations and research projects, and they are ongoing. And yeah, maybe there are in the next year more details about how to build an seasonal thermal energy storage in Austria.
Thanks a lot for your answers. Then there's the next question. Was the payback of solar district heating and cooling ever calculated, and how long is the average return on invest?
Maybe Graz could answer to this question more specifically on Austria framework of subsidies. I don't know. For us in France, the price is about 80 euros per megawatt hour. Some biggest solar thermal installations, and this is competitive directly with the heat price of gas, for instance.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I can add one point to this, because it's yeah, if you have to look on the different boundary conditions in your region and on the different district heating network, and then to look at what your installations at this point, and then to calculate in payback period. I think it's very difficult to say an overall return on investment or an overall payback period. So because it depends on different local conditions and boundary conditions in your area. That's why, because we also have different values if you build large scale solar thermal plants in Denmark, or we build some in the area of Austria, because you have different land availability, different prices, and so you have different boundary conditions and different conditions in every region.
Okay, thanks a lot for the answers. Next question is, please share the views of renewable energy sources in upcoming district cooling networks. For such a topic, we had a measure for the city of Graz. There were certain topics investigated about the implementation of a new district cooling system next to or in combination with a existing high temperature district heating networks, and some of the just rough outcomes are that for setting up a new district cooling system, there are several boundary conditions or things that need to be there. First, you have the density of the demand needs to be there. You might need some initial customers that take kind of your base load, and you should be aware that you always might need a sink for cooling down your return flows. If you're interested in more informations about that, contact me and I will try to hand you over some more details on the investigations we did there. Any further additional comments to that?
Maybe from my side. Hi, it's Lily from Szczecin. It wasn't implemented within the RES-DHC project, but we did another project called Reward Heat. And in this project, we have implemented the district heating and cooling network it was an island solution called Ectogrid. It's patent from the E.ON concern, and within the same grid, within the same pipe, we can deliver either heating or cooling. It's a dedicated solution for areas where you have a lot of mixed use, like offices and, for example, restaurants, museums. In our case, it's the new cultural center of Szczecin, located on an island. I will share the information about the project in the chat box in a second. So we are trying to investigate that, because in Poland, cooling networks are totally a new topic. So yeah, we are trying to see what we can do here.
Thank you, Lily. Then there's a certain question to Germany. The BEW, so the the state regulatory for energy efficient heating networks, or like Paula mentioned, the communal heat planning. Paula, would you think it is a good lever or starting point to gain a momentum to start raising the shares of renewable energy sources?
Thank you for the question, Michael. I think it is a very important instrument because now we have also the possibility not only to make new district heating networks based on renewables, but also make the transformation for existing grids. So that is very important. And we see in the sector a high interest for starting with the transformation studies for district heating systems. It is also good that the subsidies are there, so 40% of the investment can be subsidized. We see that in total the amount, the financing for this subsidy program should be even higher than it is now, because we have a huge investments that will have to be made in the coming years. And as of now, it is 500 million euro, but we see that we need even maybe 4 times the volume. So we see there is it is a good instrument, but regarding the continuous subsidy and the volume, it should be made, can be enhanced a little bit more.
Okay, thank you very much. Then there's a question for Lily for the region West Pomerania. The regional stakeholder advisory group that has been built up in every model region, consisting of key stakeholders all along the value chain. How was it in West Pomerania? Has there before been some kind of stakeholder group working together on that topic? And did it work out well? Did you achieve something? What's
yes,
your experience?
We did achieve something. So basically, we tried to include all the people who will be responsible for the development of the district heating systems in our locations. And since at the beginning, our initial idea was to decarbonize only one small system, we included in the group the mayor of the city where the system was located, as well as the property owners. So we had a few discussions and meetings with them, so they could see why we are there, what are our plans, and we could learn from them what is their view towards the renewable energy sources. So it was a very good discussion, I think, because everyone would love to have renewable sources in their area, but there are a lot of obstacles along the way that we were aware of, but we didn't realize it was this big issue. For example, the state of the buildings, the lack of heating network within the actual buildings. So there are a lot of obstacles that we would have to overcome with time. But the message was sent and it was received enthusiastically. So we hope that in the future we could actually do something with them.
Okay, thanks, Lily. And the stakeholder group will remain also after the end of RES-DHC.
Of course, we try to keep in touch and to inform everyone what is happening both within the project and about our other activities.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Now I have a question for Euroheat and Power. Did you find out some good practice examples for possible funding schemes for the future?
Funding schemes. Indeed, we set up a new working group on financing. And one of the tasks, it's pretty new. It's just a few months old. So one of the deliverables of this working group is to collect best practices from our members and from all the national associations which are member of our. And yeah, as I said, it's pretty new, but we are working on it, and yeah, it will be published immediately when we finish it.
Okay, and how can we follow your activities there, and where can we find your publications?
Indeed, so Euroheat and Power members can be member of the working group, so it's limited to our members. But once we finalize a deliverable, it will be published on the website.
Okay, thank you. So one last question I would like to ask Julia, how was it in Italy to make stakeholders participate in the regional stakeholder group? Was it easy for you? Were they already aware of renewables and the issues in district heating and cooling?
Yes, Michael, thank you for the question. Actually, I have to start saying that our region and our stakeholder group was, we can say, a utility-centered one, because IREN was the, let's say, organizer and leader of the renewable stakeholder advisory group. And that means that the group was actually made of stakeholders already related to IREN's networks and IREN activities. And so they were well aware of district heating sector, district heating difficulties, criticalities, and as well the need for decarbonizing the sector. So there was interest, but we have to say that during the months of the projects, we perceived loss of commitment and interest by the stakeholders. Because at the beginning they were more committed to participate, especially in the definition of measures and the priority assignment to measures and actions, while probably at the last meetings they have perceived that once the actions were done, their work could be more or less completed. And also we think that a stakeholder group led by a utility could have been less appealing than a stakeholder group maybe led by a regional authority or a national association or a sector association. And so probably stakeholders could have perceived that they have lower decisional power. And so probably that could be the answer to the loss of commitment we perceived. I have to say that there was also positive elements in these regional stakeholders, because at the beginning, as I say, the commitment was good, and also real positive aspects were, one, the good participation of colleagues from IREN. They were committed in participating to the meetings and to be involved. And a good aspect of the Italian SAG was the cooperation with the IRU, which is the National Association for District Heating that I mentioned also in my presentation, which actually participate to the meetings and were committed. And since they are national actor, they actually allow to extend the scope of the RSAG also beyond the perimeter of IREN group and network.
Okay, thank you very much. So since there is no further question, I would like to make a short wrap up and close the webinar. Nearly on point. So what did we hear today? We heard that stakeholder involvement is crucial for the transition of existing district heating and cooling networks. The networks and the stakeholders all along the value chain need to be fit for renewable energy sources. There's lots to do also regarding policy. In general, I would like to state the project end is just the beginning of the big transition of district heating and cooling in Europe and in the world. If your city or region or network is ready for transition or wants to be ready for transition, don't hesitate, contact us, visit our homepage. There you can find all our outcomes, deliverables. Just go to www.res-dhc.com. Thanks to all our partners, especially thanks to Euroheat and Power for organizing today's webinar. Thanks for listening. And as mentioned, you should receive the slides by Monday. Have a nice weekend and goodbye.